Welcome to this session of Current Affairs series. Today we are going to take a look at some important news of 18th of November 2025. Today we are going to talk about some indigenous cattle genetics, Africa's digital future, India's judicial backlog, a geopolitical flashpoint over six tiny islands, and a 40-year evolution in the definition of consent. Let's begin at the most basic level, rural India. The National Gopal Ratna Awards might sound like a niche ceremony, but they reveal an important economic shift. These awards, given by the Union Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry, and Dairying, recognize the best farmers, cooperatives, and cattle rearers who promote and preserve indigenous cattle breeds. Many people don't realize that livestock is the economic backbone of rural India. Two-thirds of rural households depend on livestock for income, and most of these farmers are small or marginal. For them, cattle are not just animals, they are an insurance policy. Now, exotic breeds like Holsteins and Jerseys produce more milk, but they are fragile. They need expensive feed, constant veterinary support, and they can collapse under India's rapidly warming climate. Indigenous breeds Gir, Sahiwal, Rathi, Haryana survive droughts, require minimal maintenance, resist disease, and adapt easily to tough conditions. For a small farmer living on unpredictable income, a robust cow that can survive heat waves and seasonal scarcity is far more valuable than a high yield but delicate animal. This is why the Gopal Ratna Awards matter. They reward exactly the kind of practices that keep the poorest farmers stable. And they are announced around November 26th, National Milk Day, which marks the birth anniversary of Dr. Varghese Kurian, the father of the White Revolution. It's a symbolic reminder that rural prosperity grows not from private monopolies, but from strong cooperatives and empowered farmers. This year's awardees reflect the diversity of India's dairy ecosystem. Aravind Patil from Maharashtra, Mr. Goshala from Rajasthan, MSPSS Limited from Kerala, Vijay Lada from Himachal Pradesh. These examples show the mission cuts across geography and climate. All of this is part of the Rashtriya Gokul mission, launched in 2014 to modernize and conserve indigenous breeds. It supports everything from genetic improvement to IVF centers, semen stations, Gokul grams, and better feeding systems. It is grassroots governance working exactly where it matters most, at the bottom of the pyramid. From the microeconomics of cattle, let's leap to global geopolitics. India Africa relations. One of the most striking details is that the last India Africa Forum Summit happened way back in 2015. A full decade has passed without a high level summit, and in diplomacy, silence creates a vacuum. Africa's importance cannot be overstated. By 2050, one out of every four humans will be African. Meanwhile, India will be the world's third largest economy. Naturally, the future will push these two regions closer together. Despite the summit gap, India has kept the relationship alive. India Africa trade crossed $100 billion. India opened 17 new embassies in Africa. India was key in getting the African Union into the G20. Over 40,000 African professionals have trained in India. Through iTech, India invested nearly $75 billion in African economies. But the next phase of India Africa cooperation is not about roads or ports alone. It is about digital public infrastructure, the tool that transformed India UPI for payments, Aadhaar style digital identity, DigiLocker for paperless governance. Africa faces a unique problem: massive youth population, fast growing digital demand, but high dependency on expensive foreign digital ecosystems. If India provides TPI as a shared public good, African nations can leapfrog the West and China. This reduces debt, increases sovereignty, and creates trust. This technological partnership aligns with security cooperation. The upcoming AIKME maritime exercise in 2025 includes India along with Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique, Madagascar, Mauritius, Seychelles, South Africa, Comoros, and Eritrea. The Indian Ocean is the world's most important trade corridor, and Africa and India share a coastline across it. Joint naval training strengthens anti piracy operations disaster relief, and maritime security. India's message is simple: this relationship must be revived at the leadership level. Without a strong institutional mechanism like IAFS, India risks losing ground to aggressive competitors. Now, let's turn to a domestic crisis: the collapse of efficiency in India's lower judiciary. District courts handle nearly 90% of India's cases, yet they are drowning under 4.69 crore pending cases. The staggering thing is not just the backlog, it's why the backlog happens. Judges spend hours doing clerical tasks. They check attendance, verify summons, process wakalatnamas, update procedural steps, and often spend every morning calling out cases that are not even ready for trial. The judge, who should be spending time interpreting the law, ends up being a clerk. By the time this procedural chaos ends, half the day is gone. Only the afternoon remains for actual hearings and judgments. A powerful institutional fix has been proposed: a special administrative court. This court would have one clear purpose: handle all administrative work. It would process filings, manage case readiness, monitor service of summons, track compliance, and prepare an accurate next day cause list. Judges would start their morning with cases actually ready for trial. This one change could dramatically increase disposal rates. However, capacity challenges are real. India's judge to population ratio is roughly 21 judges per million people, far below global standards. High courts like Delhi and Karnataka have repeatedly said many newly recruited judges lack courtroom experience. Earlier, judges were appointed after 8-10 years of practice. Now, many join right after law school. The solution is long term mandatory training at high courts. But training requires time, and India already has too many vacancies. Laws themselves sometimes worsen pendency. For example, under the Commercial Courts Act, Section 12A, mandatory pre suit mediation adds months of delay without solving disputes. Similarly, the mandatory 6-month cooling off period in mutual divorce often forces couples to lie or wait unnecessarily. Poorly designed legal procedures multiply delays instead of reducing them. Now, let's move to a major geopolitical pressure point: the Senkaku Islands, or Diaoyu or Diaoyutai, depending on who you ask. These six small, uninhabited islands total just 6.3 square kilometers, yet they sit at the center of one of the world's most dangerous territorial disputes. Japan claims the islands as Terra Nullius incorporated in 1895. China and Taiwan claim they were known to Chinese fishermen and mapped in Ming and Qing documents, meaning they historically belonged to China. They argue the islands should have been returned under the Cairo and Potsdam declarations after World War II. And then there's the United States. America carefully maintains strategic ambiguity. It does not recognize Japanese sovereignty, but it recognizes Japan's administration of the islands. This means the islands fall under Article 5 of the US Japan Security Treaty. If China attempts to seize them, America must defend Japan. This makes the Senkaku Islands a potential spark point for a clash between two nuclear armed superpowers. Finally, let's end with one of the most transformative legal journeys in modern India: the evolution of rape and consent laws. It all began with the horrific 1979 Mathura case. Mathura, a young tribal girl, was raped by two policemen in a police station. The Bombay High Court convicted them, but the Supreme Court shockingly acquitted them, reasoning that because there were no injuries, she must have consented. They even referenced her supposed habituation to sex. This judgment ignited a national feminist movement. Four law professors, Upendra Bakshi, Lotika Sarkar, Vasudha Dhagamwar, and Raghunath Kelkar, wrote a historic open letter rejecting the court's logic. That letter changed Indian criminal law forever. The reforms came step by step. First, 1983 Amendment recognized custodial rape as a separate, severe crime, shifted burden of proof onto the accused, made sexual history irrelevant. Second, 2013 Amendment, post Nirbhaya, expanded definition of rape, defined consent as clear, voluntary, affirmative, recognized withdrawal of consent, mandated survivor friendly procedures. Third, 2018 Amendment introduced the death penalty for rape of minors, enforced strict investigation and trial timelines. Fourth, 2023 Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita modernized provisions, added gender neutral wording, in some cases, criminalized sexual intercourse by deceit. Across 40 years, Indian law went from demanding proof of physical resistance to recognizing consent as a clear, voluntary act. This shift is one of the most significant legal evolutions in our history. But here's the uncomfortable truth: even the strongest laws fail if the system enforcing them is weak. A rape trial meant to finish in 6 months can still drag for 5 years because courts are overloaded, procedures are outdated, and judges are buried under clerical work. Laws alone cannot deliver justice. Only functioning institutions can. So, the big question is, can India's progressive legal framework succeed if the subordinate judiciary remains paralyzed? India's next challenge isn't just passing new laws, it's building the institutional capacity, courts, digital systems, trained judges, modern procedures needed to turn those laws into real, timely justice. Without that, all our reforms risk becoming text without impact.